no way. Just fine.
Right. I think, one of the first people that I ever met who identified themselves as bisexual to me explained it in a really beautiful way, which was that, when I fall in love with someone, I fall in love with a person. I don't fall in love with a gender.
Right.
It's only through our social construction that, we've become so, well, we think, okay, we're only supposed to be attracted to one sex or the other.
Right.
Generally the opposite sex.
Yeah. It's interesting. You said that it can change, and it does, clearly. For me, it's changed over the years. I am not exactly on the fence, and I sort of crossed from one side to the other, which, I'm still very bisexual, but
and frankly, it's not terribly uncommon for a lot of transgender folks either when they start to not necessarily change maybe, but when they start to accept their identity and actually let themselves express who they are, they start to acknowledge attractions that they were burying before.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So in a sense, change, but yeah.
Mm.
And
it's all very interesting.
And the doctors say the hormones can have an effect too.
Yeah.
When you go on hormones for transition, that there was one autobiography that I'd read, Wrapped in Blue, from Donna Rose, and she was talking about when she went to get hormones, and the doctor asked him at the time, have you ever had an attraction to guys? She says, or he says, no. He goes, leave yourself open. and she certainly found as she transitioned, she did find herself attracted to guys. But.
Well, I've certainly read any number of accounts of trans guys who are taking testosterone shots.
Right.
And that really, watch out.
Testosterone is a powerful hormone.
Very, very powerful, yes.
They learned to catcall overnight.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the author Ken Wilber said in one of his books, testosterone has basically only two functions, and one of them is to kill it. The other one is to do something else to it, which is probably not appropriate for.
Right. We know what you're saying.
Yes.
And I think everybody else out there does too.
So, but
yeah.
In any case, one other point that I wanted to make was that it's important for us to use the right terminology when we're talking about gay marriage, because for bisexuals, actually that's really kind of insulting. Or
Sure.
If you don't identify as gay, I don't. It's not appropriate. And using the term same-sex marriage actually does include bi and trans persons.
Right, because then you're referring to the legal sex of the people entering into the marriage.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know we so muddy the waters.
We do.
Us trans people, we so muddy the waters on this.
Well, and even on the trans terminology, we try to be really good, and we don't always get it right. And the only way we're going to help the rest of the public understand it is if we're more diligent about using the correct terminology.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're all learning. There's
it's developing as we go.
Well, yeah, we're redefining.
5 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to talk with any sort of authority about a lot of or some of these issues.
Yeah.
About bisexuality, and my exposure to trans folk was actually much more limited to trans guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We do only have a couple minutes left, and I think this ties in well, so I want to cover this.
Okay.
This is regarding the 2010 U.S. Census.
Right.
And same-sex couples.
Okay.
Previously, the last time it was done in 2000, the Defense of Marriage Act barred information from being collected about the status of same-sex couples. However, the White House now has announced in June that its interpretation of DOMA does not prohibit gathering the information in the 2010 census. However, while the government is behind collecting that information, not just how many people live here, but their marital status, and including same-sex couples where they're allowed, they may not be able to count gay married couples, same-sex married couples, due to technical issues in collecting the data. Despite previous statements that they would, the last census was carried out in 2000 when same-sex couples could not marry. Now there's 6 states plus the folks that were married before Prop 8 was made illegal, or before Prop 8 passed to make new marriages illegal. USA Today reports that a host of issues may prevent them from actually being counted. Currently, the software used automatically converts same-sex married couples to unmarried partners, and they're not sure they can change that before 2010. The Federal Marriage Act...
Yeah, come on.
Well, it took many years for other things, too. You have to understand...
You're an IT person.
Government software is ancient.
Yeah.
It really is.
All right. Okay.
Now, it's still a cop-out, because if you put the resources to it, you can do it. But
Right.
Another issue is the Federal Marriage Act does not apply to census. It does apply to every other federal agency, however, that uses census data to calculate federal funds and enforce equality in housing laws. So if they collect the information, even if they collect it, nobody will be able to use the information because of DOMA.
DOMA's got to go.
Finally, data used by federal agencies such as income, family size, et cetera, would have to be reclassified, as you were saying with tax return info, would have to be reclassified to include same-sex married couples as families, and that would have a domino effect on all their other data.
Right.
So Robert Gibbs says they're committed to trying to do it for 2010, but it might not happen.
Well, we'll see. And we are just about out of time.
Yep.
And thank you so much.
Can I give a plug?
Yes,
I
yes.
have a reading. They're very rare. It's going to be in Provincetown for Summer Bear Week, Thursday, the 16th at 2 p.m. at the Pied Piper Bar and Restaurant, 199 Commercial Street in Provincetown. You can get all of the information at my website, suresha.com. That's suresha.com. And thank you.
Oh, cool.
Hope you come.
Cool. We will be there. I will be there, certainly.
Good night.
Night, everybody.
Bye.
I found my wishing well.